I think maybe there's a new solution in net potentially.
Okay.
You liked Woll a lot, last night?
I've liked him. Like I know
Same.
Kyper's been talking about this forever about having. He's like, they should give him a little bit of run maybe to get him ready. But he's a young, athletic, big goalie, and he just is solid.
He's tall.
Solid. He's just not flying around in there. Like, to me, he's obviously not the answer. But
Love it.
if a guy goes down, I'd feel somewhat confident with him. Like, it's not like you're putting Michael Hutchinson or,
Shalgren.
Or Shalgren. Like, this guy, to me, has some upside. Mike McKenna's always talking about him.
I feel much differently about Woll than Shalgren. I love that conversation because last year we had people going, what about Shalgren? His numbers are good, his whatever. No. And I was like, I don't see it. What I love, when he makes the save on the 2-on-0, 2-on-1, cross push and on Sunday night there, he comes across the net, but he does it with his chest back and up. He's not flailing across on his stomach. Like, he's still in a goaltending position as he makes that push across the crease. And I was like, man, pretty darn good and pretty encouraging. You look at this tandem. It's not at all out of question that Murray gets hurt or Samsonov gets hurt for that matter.
Well, we had a lot of these conversations last week, and I feel like that was the thing that was left unsaid is like, oh, of course Matt Murray's going to be healthy for another month.
Right.
When has that ever happened?
Yeah. So, it's very possible one of those two have that. It's also possible, like, Murray can't give up 4 goals every game. You just can't. It's been 6 to 7, and eventually they'll say.
I mean, since January 1st, he has a 3.68 and an 8.85. So, yes, he can.
Well,
he literally almost
can and will.
He almost averages it, in fact.
If he does that for the next, there's 9 games left. I presume he's going to start 4 of them.
Yep.
If he does that 4 more times, you're right. He still goes in. He's still the backup.
There's just not enough run rate.
Where I'm going with that is you can see a world where one of them's hurt or one of them is out and Woll's on the bench and someone sucks for a game or a period and he's got to go in. I think there's a 10% chance you see him play some playoff hockey this year.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. This is the guy who has had just enough rope to prove he is a viable option if 2 or 3 things go wrong.
Yeah.
There's just not enough. I honestly believe if this was, and of course this goes without saying, but if we were at game 35 of the season, I think there's a world where Joe Woll, given what he's showing in this little spell of games, they'd say, maybe we do need to mix him in. Maybe we do need to see what we have.
I agree with that take.
But there's just not enough time.
The take show today.
There you go. But there's just not enough time. There's just not.
And when our boy Mike McKenna says good things about a goalie, I always listen.
I know. You perk up a little bit.
Well, because there was a guy
I trust anyone who loves Vasilevsky.
He knows. Yeah.
You want to talk about a good take.
But Dr. Philosophical always tweets at us a bunch of good questions and stuff. And he asked about Woll, and McKenna said that Woll would already be a full-time in the NHL if he hadn't battled so many injuries. So he likes his pedigree. Like, what if I'm setting the over-under at 1.5 playoff games for Joseph Woll? What are you taking?
Privately, I will
under because I don't want him to start any of them. Things have gone off the rails if he's starting.
Like, I think there's one very clear route to this where one of these guys gets hurt, which is extremely possible, like you guys just mentioned. And then
he's the backup, and the other guy struggles in the first 2 games.
And you're like, we got to win a game. We're throwing the kid in there.
God, it's not at all out of the realm of possibility.
It's really not that far down the road here.
This is why it was so important. Why our show really was like, need a goalie, need a goalie, need a goalie. The one thing we may have gotten wrong, and I will say that I got wrong, is they had a lot of faith in Woll. And I think they basically said, who's better than Joseph Woll? And said, we're not sure that this guy is going to be better. So we actually do have a clip on Keefe after we've talked it to death. Let's have Keefe on Joe Woll if we can.
Yeah, probably the perfect way, again, for Joe to enter the game. A credit to Nashville that came out hard. They're forechecking well. They're on top of us there. Clearly their game plan early on was to shoot the puck from everywhere. I think they even got, they registered a shot from 3 feet below the goal line. At one point, they're shooting from everywhere and got Joe engaged in the game and inflated the shot clock a little bit. But I liked how our guys just stayed with it, recognizing it's a 60-minute game. And then, once we got through their forecheck a little bit, I thought we didn't really look back from there at 5-on-5.
He's very sensitive to miscounting of the shots.
He really is.
Hates it. That's like the 3rd time he's mentioned it this season.
I know.
That's his refs. That's me with the refs, but it's him with the shot clock there. In terms of what you get out of Woll, it's just and I like what Keefe said there because and not so much with Källgren, and not that we think Woll is any of these guys, or we wouldn't even be having a conversation about him, but so often what has happened with this Leafs team in the past is backup goalie comes in, be it Hutchinson or whoever, and he just can't hack it immediately. He gives up a goal on the first 2-3 shots he faces, and the team just gets deflated there. And with Joe Woll, it seemed to be the exact opposite. It was, oh, okay, we kind of stubbed our toe to start this game. They came out flying, and makes sense. It was a team who was sitting at home. You're playing early. It's a Sunday. And he held you in the game. He didn't win the game for you by any means. We talk about how dominant pretty much every Leaf was in that game, with Nylander aside. But Woll held them in it and allowed them to win it. He didn't win it for them, but he made it possible for them to do so.